Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Okay, guys, I am having some issues with my cell phone. It won't charge, so here we are. This comes from cscmu.edu, and this is about a woman who was in Scientology, and she talks about what it was like when she was a child. I Still Have Nightmares by Curtis Kruger, St. Petersburg Times, staff writer. St. Petersburg Times, Sunday, November 10th, 1991. Just going to make it bigger. When Beth Ehrlich was 11, she signed her first contract, a billion-year contract. Beth didn't understand it too well, but her father had explained if she signed the contract, she would help save the world. I thought that, of course, I want to save the world. The young girl had just pledged her life to Scientology. The contract is a standard document whose unusual duration is not questioned in a church that believes in reincarnation. For the next several years, she grew up in Clearwater as a loyal Scientologist. In her early teens, she said she worked until 10:30. Police officers, FBI, anyone? Almost every night, including school nights, which is against the law, by the way. She said she didn't complain when dinner was rice and beans, or when cockroaches scampered across her room. Yeah, because they can't afford extermination, I guess. Now, 8 years have passed since Beth last saw Clearwater. She has left the church, yes. But the nightmares haven't stopped. Even now, she sees Clearwater's Fort Harrison Hotel. Clearwater Police, in a recurring dream. Her former guardians appear, names. A sensation of pressure stifles her. I can't get out, Beth said recently. I can't leave the Fort Harrison building. Clearwater Police, did you hear that? I can't leave the Fort Harrison building. It's still making an impression. It's PTSD. But obviously police officers don't seem to care about children getting PTSD. It's not a big deal. I'm still not over it, she said. I'm still not. I still have nightmares. Beth and her sister Christy grew up in the Church of Scientology. It was a shattering experience that, in ways big and small, forced them apart from their parents, and each other critics of Scientology say their story is not unusual in a church that demands total devotion, mind control. They say family life and children often come in second. It's very Illuminati-like, isn't it? So the story of Beth and Christy is the story of many of Scientology's children. You know, children are adults in small bodies. LAPD, did you hear that? Children are adults in small bodies. The two sisters shared a bedroom at their home in Los Angeles and rode their bikes to school together. They called each other Gold and Silver because they were alike, but slightly different. Beth was brunette, Christy blonde. Beth was 9, Christy 8. Even their Christmas gifts were alike, but slightly different. They usually got the same gift in different colors. People, when they talked about Beth, they talked about me too, and vice versa. Christy remembers. We were kind of one person in a way, Beth and Chris, but not for long. Beth and Christy's parents, both Scientologists, had divorced in the early 1970s. The girls lived in California with their mother, who snapped a photo of Beth and Christy staring at each other in a church training routine. Photo and original article. Hold on. Their father, Dennis Ehrlich, had left to join the staff at the church's spiritual headquarters in Clearwater, Florida. He was the chief cramming officer, a position he now describes as the quality control engineer at the brainwashing plant. Well, that's good he got out. I really hope some of these Scientologists that are on the brink of leaving are listening to this. If I can just save one Scientology child or one Scientology family, I'll be happy. At the time, the job seemed crucial, but Ehrlich missed his daughters. On visits to Los Angeles, he urged the girls to move to Clearwater with them. Eventually, Beth agreed. You guys know that's not typical, I don't think. Beth moved to Clearwater in 1978 and missed Christy immediately. The two girls, 9 and 10, became instant pen pals. Beth learned quickly that her life had changed dramatically. She lived with her father and his new wife in a room the size of a closet at the Fort Harrison Hotel. The biggest Scientology-owned building in Clearwater. That didn't last. Soon she moved in with about 20 women church workers, slaves, in a different room in the hotel. The room was bigger but stuffed with bunks and dressers. Next, she moved across town to the QI, a former Quality Inn. So I guess Serge Delmar's right, huh? He's not just hallucinating. Crazy. The Scientologists had bought on US 19 near East Bay Drive. Dennis Ehrlich said it was not unusual for parents and children to live in different rooms at the QI. That's just the way it was, he said. Yeah, breeding ground for predators is what that is. Next, she moved across town to the QI, a former Quality Inn. The Scientologists had... Oh, I'm sorry. I read that. Sorry, guys. Sometimes Beth would return to discover she had been moved out of her room with no warning. They do that a lot. We're talking at like 10:30 at night. I would come home and my stuff would be someplace else. It's also part of the mind control. I don't know if people that are doing that are mindful of that, but it really is part of the mind control. You know, like you're not allowed to have your own space. You're not allowed privacy. She guesses she eventually was moved as many as 20 times. Children, she said, were moved routinely to make room for adult Scientologists. Oh, wait a minute, you guys. Let me take some water here. So the adults came before the children, huh? Would those adult Scientologists be some of those executives that keep whining and crying like bitches right now? Yeah. Mm-hmm. During the day, Beth attended a Scientology-affiliated school. Does it adhere to the laws? She described it as go at your own pace. Yeah, indoctrination. Choose your own courses system. Yeah, LRH, indoctrination. 1 year in 8th grade, she went to Oak Grove Middle School, a public school in Clearwater. We were such poor students, she said. That's so sad. That's all I can remember was how backward, how awful I felt. That's so sad. Beth did love one thing about public school, the food. Yeah, because children deserve decent meals every day. Davy. Mikey. Who else? Marty. At the time, I was used to eating main dishes, which were rice with something or beans with something because they don't have the money to feed the children well. It's neglect. Child Protective Services, neglect, neglect, neglect. They're doing it right now. Child Protective Services, Clearwater Police, it's neglect, 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 abuse. Compared to the food served up at the QI for the Scientology staff, the adults. Lunches and breakfasts at school were wonderful, she said. And also the children are growing. They need their nourishment. Oh, wow, it was heaven, she said. It was incredible. A square meal. Why would someone allow their child to live as Beth did? That's a good question, isn't it? Scientologists, particularly staff Scientologists, firmly believe that they are saving the world. Former members say next to the grand purpose of everything else is secondary. Scientology comes first and everything else is off purpose. Oh, like having children is off purpose, you guys. But the children are really good for some good manual labor, some slave labor to bring in all those billions. Yeah, the children are really good for that, though. Everything else is off purpose, said Vicky Asnaran, a former high-ranking Scientology official, that's suspect, who is suing the church. Parents who want to spend time with their children are looked down on. It's not socially acceptable. Haworth responded, true. Parents on the church staff do work longer hours because of their commitment to the goals of the church. Oh, I don't have my little cha-ching. Cha-ching, cha-ching. But they also have fashioned a system that provides for families to live in a healthy environment despite the demands on time. Wait a minute, guys. Let me listen to this. I take a deep breath. But they also have fashioned a system that provides for families to live in a healthy environment despite the demands on time. I don't buy that. Dennis Ehrlich was happy to have Beth by his side and proud. He considered himself a superior parent. He had brought Beth to Clearwater, where she could accomplish something truly important. Here, she was helping church staff members who gave people Scientology counseling and training. Oh, wait a minute, you guys. Wait. Another pre-teenager giving auditing to grown adults? Wait, you're kidding. Asking adults sexual questions? I didn't want my daughter to be part of just normal society, he said. I wanted her to grow up to be, like me, an auditor or a cramming officer or something worthwhile. I don't know this man personally, and I'm not going to disrespect him, but he had to have known about all those questions. Beth accepted the role. She took Scientology courses, and after turning 11, oh my God, signed the billion-year contract to join the Sea Org. Oh, wait a minute, you guys. So there's more proof, you guys. Police officers, FBI, there's more proof. An 11-year-old signed a contract for the Sea Org at 11. How many laws are broken? The Sea Organization, oh, here we go. The Sea Organization is a group of highly committed staff members who do the church's business and spiritual work. They dog them out like nothing else. They dog them. Members generally work 12-hour days. I think it's more than that. Members generally work 12-hour days, 6 or 7 days a week, and currently are paid about $30 per week. It's up to 47 now, the Freemasonic number. The church gives them room and board, with cockroaches, 6 bunks to a room. Beth still went to school during the day, but at night she worked as a file clerk. Why is it they're saying all these children were doing file clerk? I mean, I think there's an ounce of truth to it, but I don't buy. I think it's a cover, to be honest. I think the children were doing some filing, but there were a lot more they were doing. And I've heard so many people say we were filing. She worked as a file clerk and had other jobs, often alongside her father. Well, that's good, at Fort Harrison. I can respect that. At least he was there with her. I can respect that. At her request, she sometimes studied Scientology during work hours. The Scientology school never assigned homework, she said. It was just understood that when we left school, we left it and went to work. All kinds of labor laws being broken. And all these people going around acting real dumb. Oh, I don't know if that's not a public school, we don't know if it's covered. Unreal. She described a typical schedule. Sunday from 8 in the morning until 10:30 at night. Because that's what 11-year-olds need to be doing, right? Monday through Friday from after school until 10:30 p.m. No playtime. You see that? No playtime. Saturday, noon to 10:30. What do they call that? There's a name they call the Saturdays. The rec day or something? I forgot what it's called. Saturday, noon to 10:30 p.m., 1 week off the next. Oh, off one Saturday. Whoa. And then when you do your laundry or whatever. That works out to be about 50 hours work a week. During school, in the summer, Beth said she worked fun time. I don't know what that is. Other children worked similar hours. She said, I never got a chance to just sit around. And everybody's signing off on this. The IRS signs off on it. The FBI signs off on it. The Department of Justice signs off on it. Child Protective Services signs off on it. The Clearwater Police signs off on it. The LAPD signs off on it. The Hemet Police sign off on this. I mean, there's so many people that are aiding and abetting this. On her fortnightly, I don't know what that means, fortnightly days, maybe 4 nightly days off, I don't understand that, is a misspelling. She liked to spend time with her dad. They would sleep late, eat a favorite deli, go to the beach, and see a movie. See, I can respect that. I mean, Dad was under mind control, but he was spending time with his daughter. That's how it's supposed to be. Beth also got Scientology auditing, of course, in which she was hooked up to a device called an e-meter, similar to a lie detector, and asked about some things that troubled her. The future looked clear. I grew up thinking that I was going to become something in the church, Beth said. I wasn't going to college. I wasn't going to learn a trade. Yeah, they don't allow it. Because then you have more capability to get out of there. If there's any young Scientologists listening to my videos, you can't imagine how many people are out here to help you. Oh my goodness, there's so much help out here. We could help you get your Social Security card, your birth certificate if you don't have it. We can help you with immigration papers. You're not going to get deported, don't worry. There's so much that all of us could help you with. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'll help you if you need it. I'm not a rich person, but I don't need to be rich. I've got a good mind. I could help you. So he decided to toughen her up once when she did something that irked him. He simply stopped talking to her, that's silent treatment, for several weeks. He didn't say a word, not even on her birthday. That's a silent treatment, you guys. The ideal Scientology parent does not pamper a child. They should just change that word and say love. I mean, I'm not saying that none of the Scientologists that none of them love their children. But LRH was such a scumbag. In fact, several former members said Scientologists believe children are adults in small bodies who shouldn't be ordered around. In order to be a good Scientologist, says former member Adelaide Dodd-Bova, you're allowing your child to be responsible for themselves. You see, this is black magic where they invert everything. That it might, in like other terms, narcissism or whatever, it might be called parentification. I don't have to tell my 5-year-old son if he's hungry or not. He knows. I don't have to make him dinner. He can go get food. Scientology literature on children, like much of Hubbard's other writings, is subject to several interpretations. The following passage, for instance, from Hubbard's How to Live with Children, like he would know. 2 could have come from Dr. Spock. A good, stable adult with love and tolerance in his heart is about the best therapy a child can have. Oh, I guess that's how he loved his son Quentin, huh? Other passages sound more like what Dodd-Bova was talking about. Any law which applies to the behavior of men and women applies to children. Or when you give a child something, it's his, so he tears up a shirt, wrecks his bed, breaks his fire engine. It's none of your business. What a psychopath. As Beth worked in the cloistered world of Scientology, Christie's letters from California provided a link to the outside. They told Beth which bands were hot, what slang was in vogue. But Christie's letters weren't enough. Beth suffered bouts of depression because she missed her sister and mother. Yeah, Scientology, you see? That's like natural for children to be with their mother and their sister. But you try to break that natural bond, creating more psychopaths. This created a conflict. I felt like I needed to be in the church because that was the right thing to do, she said. But then the little girl inside of me was saying, I need to be with my mom. She wished her mother would have told her to stay home in Los Angeles. That would have made it easier to leave. But her mother never said a thing. It wouldn't have been proper, family members said. See, they're so under mind control. Man. I mean, I often wonder how many stories the police hide about all the things going on here. And I'll bet you darn sure there's some police officers that try to help. I bet there are. They just lay low. That just wasn't part of Scientology, Christie said. Part of my mom was saying Beth is a being unto herself and she must make her decisions and do her thing. And the other half of her was saying, wait a second, you're her mom, you love her, you want her to be with you. And in a way, I think that's all it would have taken to get Beth to stay. But that Scientology in my mom wouldn't allow her to express her feelings about that. Well, she would have been pulled in for what? A sec check, right? You can't love your children. You can't care. Beth didn't learn until years later how her mother really felt. Aw. She was crying really the entire time that Beth was gone, Christie said. Christie said her mother did not want to comment for this article. Beth was allowed to visit her family in Los Angeles a couple times a year. Every time Beth returned, it was like lovers reuniting, Christie recalls. I mean, we practically, all of us kind of clung to each other the entire time she was there. And also, too, this environment, like, creates that. Then depression would sink in. This is also how they're controlling people, too. They're using this. So sick. Then depression would sink in. After the first couple days, I would just be totally just scared about the fact that I had to leave, Beth said. I can remember them telling me, you're here right now, you're not leaving. There's no reason to feel like you're losing us because you're here, right here. And it didn't mean anything. I was a basket case. I wonder how old she was right now. Yeah, she left. She went to Clearwater when she was 11. Then one summer, things looked up. When Beth was 13 and Christy was 12, plans were made for Christy to visit Clearwater. I don't know. I'm losing track here. Okay, you guys, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm losing track. They're back to Florida, then they're in LA, then they're back to Clearwater. Anyways, Beth was ecstatic. So was Christy. Until she saw the room she was going to share with Beth at the former Quality Inn. Quality Inn, Quality Inn. Oh my God. I couldn't even believe that Beth lived in a place like that, Christy said. There were bugs everywhere. We were always scared of having bugs run across our feet and face and stuff while we were sleeping. One night while Beth was working, Christy and some other young people went to Clearwater Beach. An officer stopped them. An officer stopped them. An officer stopped them. Said they were out too late and called Scientology officials. See that? I mean, maybe in a way it was protecting them because you never know what could happen out there, but I don't know. The decision was swift. Christy's summer vacation was cut short. She immediately would be sent back to California. So she's getting punished because she went to the beach. Imagine this? It's great how the police officer called on her. Christy was flown home without even a kiss from her father. Oh, they love to do that, don't they? But I don't know, like, if the father was, like, going along or what. I cried the whole way home, just what they want. Basically, I just felt like dirt, just because she went to the beach. Sickening. This is the shit that LAPD and Clearwater Police and all them, they just sign off on it. They're okay with this. Meanwhile, all of them walk around free. Their children are somewhat free, in a way. Basically, I just felt like dirt. I felt like I had committed the biggest sin in my whole life, and there was no way that I could possibly make amends. It was real, real hard. Yeah, they always want that. They want the children doing that. I think she's, 12 or 13? It reminds me of that whole thing Jenna Miscavige went through. When she kissed her boyfriend, it was just ridiculous. As Beth neared 15, she got tougher. Does she have a choice? She had suffered so many heart-wrenching emotions that she grew numb to them. That's disassociation, too. So she was surprisingly calm upon hearing some unexpected news. Her father was in trouble. He had been declared a suppressive person. Hopefully this is their ticket out. An enemy of Scientology, after pushing for improvements in staff conditions and for refusing to be demoted. Good for him for standing up. I wonder if he stood up for his daughter. I was confused, she said. The organization that my dad had wanted me to be a part of was now telling him to leave. I'm going to interject once and then I'm going to stop, you guys. Any Scientologist on the brink of leaving, being declared suppressive doesn't mean anything out here. In fact, once you understand what it is, you're going to be so happy. Yes, you're going to cut off ties with a lot of people, but being suppressive, it's not what you think it is. I mean, it hurts at first, but people get through it, and there's a lot of support out here. But even though he was leaving, Dennis Ehrlich still believed Scientology doctrine. Like his ex-wife, he would not urge his 14-year-old daughter to leave Clearwater. He told Beth she should make her own decision. She stayed. She had more allegiance to the cult than she did to me, Dennis Ehrlich said. That's what they want. And I can only say that's my own doing. Well, see, he's taken responsibility. How does that look, guys? Because I was less of a father than I was a cult leader to her. He takes responsibility. It's a good look, man. Beth said the church designated a man and woman as her guardians. Names, names, names. And she remained in Clearwater, thousands of miles from her mother, father, and sister. Ray Emmons is a former Clearwater police lieutenant who specialized in Scientology affairs and sometimes interviewed people who wanted to leave the church. He said he was surprised at the number of Scientologists who wanted to leave family members behind. Husbands and wives had been split from each other, and kids have been split from parents, he said. Most cases, it was the parents that got disenchanted with Scientology because they'd been there longer, and the child was not. So the parents would leave and the child would not. I love how he words it, don't you guys? He just left a whole bunch of shit out of there, didn't he? I mean, maybe he wanted to help. I don't know. Within a year, Beth had decided she wanted to leave. Good. She was confused. She told her superiors, names, and herself that she wanted to move back to California. Going back to Cali. She requested a leave, which her Scientology superiors approved in 1983. Her flight to her father's home in Colorado was arranged. But on the day of the flight, she was called to the Fort Harrison Hotel to talk to the ethics officer, who deals with people who break Scientology rules. Her guardian was there. He accused her of wanting to leave without coming back. It was so awful, she said. That's why you got to keep it inside, you guys. 3 hours before the flight, they were still debating the point. You see, it's just proof you're not allowed to leave, you see? Which that's imprisonment. That's false imprisonment. 3 hours before the flight, they were still debating the point. I started feeling like, well, they're trying to pressure me not to go. Finally, she told her guardian, look, I'm leaving, I'm going now, goodbye. She caught a Scientology bus from the Fort Harrison to the QI, Quality Inn, and picked up her things. There, a Scientology shuttle bus was going to take her to Tampa International Airport. She stood outside the QI waiting. Rain started to fall. An hour before her flight, no bus had shown up. I was frantic. I didn't know what to do. Some other Scientologists came by and mentioned they were going to the airport. She asked for a ride. In the car, one of them turned around and asked, you do have some clearance to leave, don't you? See all the handlers? There's like levels of handlers. I do wonder if they know what they're doing. I don't even know anymore. Clearance to leave. You don't need that much clearance even in the military. And she's what, I think she said she's 15? And it's illegal. You can't keep people's children against their will. I felt as if I were escaping. I was escaping the pressure. I was escaping these people who were trying to guilt me into staying. And I didn't have anybody. There was no one there who was trying to help me. From Tampa, she flew to Colorado. She later returned to her mother and sister in Los Angeles. Before long, all the Ehrlichs had left Scientology. Good. That's a good story. For Christy and her mom, the break centered on a dispute between her school, which catered to Scientologists, and the church, Christy said. Christy entered a public school in Glendale. It was such a shock to me. My grades started going down. I became uninterested in school. It's depression, too. I actually left high school in the 11th grade because I was really having a hard time adjusting. After leaving, I didn't have those stable things anymore. One of those was the church's insistence on a drug-free environment. I really kind of ended up on the streets for a while, Christy said. She did a lot of drugs when I first left. It was the only way that I kind of felt okay about myself. It's a way of regulating. She said she realized she was in a rut, get some counseling, and got herself together. Now 23, Christy is a college student. Dennis Ehrlich, 44, regrets bringing his family into Scientology. That's a class act. He took responsibility. He now manages a small business in Los Angeles. On the side, he publishes a newsletter for former Scientologists called The Informer. He recently wrote, "I don't know if anyone can comprehend the remorse I feel." Oh, it's going to make me cry. "I don't know if anyone can comprehend the remorse I feel for subjecting my children to this alienated, warped, repressive environment. I pray our story serves as a warning." That's what a real man does. Scientology is dangerous to the health and sanity of your children. Scientology parents, I really hope you're listening to me. He's very remorseful, Beth said. He's always saying how sorry he is. Now, 24, Beth is married and lives in California. She said she recently graduated from college with honors in graphic design. When she left Clearwater in 1983, she realized quickly she was never going back to Scientology, but some of the doctrines are hard to shake. Scientologists abhor psychiatry, for example, and it took Beth until this summer to seek therapy, to deal with the pain of her unusual childhood. She said it has been hard to build a meaningful relationship with her father, but she is trying. "It's not like life is normal. I really don't think it ever will be." That was a really powerful time. So that's it, you guys. I'm going to leave the link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose, and otherwise have an amazing day or night wherever you are.